crippled part. In a chilling escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv awoke to chaos as Russia unleashed a staggering 315 drones and 7 missiles in a relentless overnight assault, marking one of the most ferocious attacks on the city since the war began over 3 years ago. The barrage, which targeted 7 of Kyiv's 10 districts, left at least 4 people hospitalized, ignited fires across residential and commercial areas, and plunged parts of the city into darkness, shaking the resolve of a nation already battered by war. This follows Russia's record-breaking drone attack on Monday, June 9th, when 479 drones and 20 missiles pounded Ukraine, signaling Moscow's intent to intensify its campaign of destruction. The attack began shortly after midnight, with air raid sirens piercing the night for nearly 5 hours until 5 a.m., 200 GMT. Residents huddled in metro stations turned bomb shelters as the sky lit up with explosions, the deafening roar of drones, and the thuds of Ukraine's air defenses battling to intercept the onslaught. Reuters witnesses described a city under siege, with flames and heavy smoke rising from multiple neighborhoods, as drone debris and missile strikes sparked fires in homes, businesses, and open spaces. City officials reported that the barrage caused widespread damage, with residential buildings, infrastructure, and even Kyiv's metro system sustaining hits. The explosions were relentless, said Timur Tkachenko, head of the Kyiv city administration. Fires broke out across the capital, and our emergency responders are working around the clock. At least 4 people were rushed to hospitals, though the full extent of casualties remains unclear as rescue operations continue. This latest assault comes on the heels of Russia's massive June 6th attack, which saw 407 drones and 45 missiles strike Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities, killing 6, including 3 emergency responders in the capital, and injuring dozens. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy condemned the attacks, stating, "Russia doesn't change its stripes. They target our cities and ordinary lives with unrelenting terror." Russia's defense ministry claimed the strikes were retaliatory, a direct response to Ukraine's audacious Operation Spiderweb on June 1st, which saw Ukrainian drones strike Russian air bases deep inside enemy territory, damaging or destroying up to 20 strategic bombers, including nuclear-capable aircraft. The operation, meticulously planned by Ukraine's SBU security service over 18 months, dealt a $7 billion blow to Russia's military and was hailed by Zelenskyy as a brilliant defensive operation. Russian President Vladimir Putin, visibly enraged, vowed retribution, telling U.S. President Donald Trump in a recent call that Moscow would respond to Ukraine's terrorist acts. The June 10th assault appears to be part of this promised retaliation, with Russia deploying an unprecedented number of low-cost, high-impact drones to overwhelm Ukraine's defenses. Analysts warn that Moscow's shift to massive drone swarms signals a new, cost-effective strategy to sustain its bombing campaign, potentially prolonging the war. The damage to Kyiv is both physical and psychological. The strikes have crippled parts of the city's infrastructure, with over 2,000 households on Kyiv's eastern bank left without power on June 6th, a situation likely worsened by the latest attack. The targeting of residential areas has heightened fears among civilians, many of whom spent the night in bomb shelters, haunted by the relentless buzz of drones and the threat of missile strikes. Beyond Kyiv, Russia's recent attacks have battered other Ukrainian cities. On June 7th, Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, endured what Mayor Ihor Terekhov called the most powerful attack since the war began, with 48 drones, 2 missiles, and 4 glide bombs killing 4 and injuring nearly 60. The assault on Kharkiv followed a pattern of escalating Russian aggression, with 472 drones launched nationwide just days earlier. The economic toll is staggering. Rebuilding damaged infrastructure, from power grids to metro lines, will strain Ukraine's already fragile economy. The humanitarian crisis is deepening, with civilians bearing the brunt of Russia's attacks. Zelenskyy has called for urgent international support, warning that if someone does not put pressure on Russia, they are complicit in this war. The attack underscores the failure of peace talks, with recent negotiations in Istanbul yielding no progress. Russia's refusal to accept Ukraine's conditional ceasefire coupled with Putin's insistence on addressing the root causes of the conflict, suggests a prolonged stalemate. U.S. President Donald Trump's recent comments that it might be better to let Ukraine and Russia fight for a while before pursuing peace have dampened hopes for a swift resolution, drawing criticism from Zelenskyy and European leaders. Ukraine's air defenses, while intercepting 460 of 479 drones and 19 of 20 missiles on June 9th, are under immense strain. Russia's planned production of 3,000 long-range missiles in 2025, including 750 Iskander ballistic missiles, far outpaces Ukraine's defensive capabilities, with estimates suggesting Kyiv has fewer than 200 Patriot missiles. This missile math tilts heavily in Russia's favor, raising fears that Ukraine may struggle to counter future barrages. Internationally, the attack is likely to galvanize Ukraine's Western allies, with calls for more air defense systems and military aid growing louder. However, the escalation risks drawing NATO closer to direct confrontation with Russia, especially as Moscow targets symbolic sites like government buildings to send a message to Kyiv. A Western diplomat warned that Russia's response will be huge, vicious, and unrelenting, suggesting further strikes may be imminent. As Kyiv's residents pick through the rubble and firefighters battle blazes, Ukraine's spirit remains unbroken. The success of Operation Spiderweb demonstrated Kyiv's ability to strike deep into Russia, boosting morale despite the grim outlook. However, the road ahead is daunting. With Russia intensifying its attacks and Ukraine's resources dwindling, the conflict shows no signs of abating. DRM News will continue to provide updates as this crisis unfolds, with reports from the ground in Kyiv and analysis of the war's broader implications. For now, the people of Ukraine face another day of uncertainty, their courage tested by a relentless enemy.